Welcome to our May 13th Rotary Club of Madison online meeting. I'm Andrea Kaminsky, Club President. I'd like to start by thanking Jason Ilstrup for helping us produce this live-streamed meeting with our mayor today. So let's begin by reciting the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Well, it's May, and it's time for us to select this year's group of Madison Rotary Foundation scholars. Our committee has completed its interviews and selected 24 outstanding students. We'll get a chance to meet these scholars in our virtual meeting on June 3rd. But while we're getting ready to meet them, I'll invite Rob Vandenberg, co-chair of the Rotary Scholar Mentor Subcommittee, to our virtual podium for an announcement. Rob?
Thank you, President Andrea. Hi, fellow Rotarians. We need your help. Our Rotary Scholarship Committee has selected 24 new Rotary Scholars this year. Each of these scholars will have the opportunity to be supported by a Rotary mentor. So far, 13 Rotarians have signed up as new mentors, and thank you to those who have done so. However, we still need 11 more Rotarians to support these scholars during their undergraduate studies. Please consider this opportunity to make a difference in the life of a Rotary Scholar. Sign up online to be a mentor or email the Rotary office. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And we're looking forward to meeting our 24 scholars online next month. And I hope every member will consider becoming a mentor for one of these students. Next up is our incoming president, Jorge Hidalgo, who has an award presentation to make.
Thank you, President Andrea. Each year, our club recognizes 6 members for their service to our Rotary Club in one of the 5 avenues of service, which are club, community, international, vocational, or youth service. Today, I'm going to introduce you to our Rotary Club of Madison 2020 Youth Service Award recipient. Rob Vandenberg joined our Rotary Club in 2016. He holds a Bachelor of Applied Science and Mechanical Engineering degree from the University of Waterloo in Ontario, and he is a former Senior Director of Business Development and Engineering at Kraft Foods. In the 4 years Rob has been in our Rotary Club, he has been very active in our youth-related committees. Rob has chaired our Interact Committee for 2 years and has worked with Memorial and East High School students in getting their groups organized and meeting regularly. He serves as a mentor to a Rotary Scholar, and he has co-chaired the Rotary Scholar Mentor Committee for 2 years. In this role, Bob helps our Scholarship Committee match scholars to Rotary mentors as a way to help our scholars succeed in college. He has also created an annual planning calendar to help keep the work of this important committee on schedule. In addition, he has served on our Rotary Youth Exchange Committee. Rob is also active in several of our fellowship groups, including golf, sailing, and hiking. We want to thank Rob for his volunteer efforts to help youth succeed in our community. Our club board of directors has named him as our 2020 Rotary Club of Madison Youth Service Award recipient. The club has made a $200 gift in his name to the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. This is our first ever virtual award presentation, and Rob will be receiving in the mail a special certificate and a pin to recognize him of our club's Youth Service Award. Congratulations, Rob. Rob exemplifies the caliber of Rotarians in our club. We are a diverse, large group of leaders committed to making our communities better each day. I believe that the opportunity to connect with people like Rob is one of the great values of our club and being a Rotarian. I look forward to the next time we connect in person. Stay safe.
Thank you, George, and congratulations to Rob on receiving this well-deserved recognition for his volunteer efforts with our youth programs. And now Charles McClymans, chair of our Rotary International Committee, will share an update on this year's Rotary International Foundation Fund Drive. Charles?
And thank you, President Andrea, and hello, fellow Rotarians. We are halfway through our annual drive to raise funds for the Rotary International Foundation. All members should have received your pledge card and with information on how to donate to the foundation. And to date, we have raised $26,885, so we're just halfway towards our goal. We emailed a reminder notice to members last Thursday, and there's a pledge form included at the end of that email as well. As I've mentioned, gifts to the Rotary International Foundation are helping our club's international Change Her Story project in Ghana, and gifts to the International Foundation are also providing COVID-19 support to communities around the world and including right here in Madison. Our district was advised by Rotary International last week that we will be receiving some of the disaster funds for projects right here in our own community and beyond to help with relief efforts for the pandemic. And for the 11th consecutive year, the Rotary International Foundation has received the highest rating of 4 stars from Charity Navigator, so you know that your donation is going to a good and worthy cause. Our district requires that clubs contribute an average of $100 per member to be eligible for matching dollars for international projects. We call this Every Rotarian, Every Year. And matching district funds are required to receive matching funds from the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. In order for our club to continue to be eligible for $75,000 in district funding and international matching dollars for Change Her Story project in Ghana and other international projects that we'll do in the future, our members must contribute a combined total of $50,000 by June 30th. So we hope to hear from you very soon, if we haven't heard from you already, with your gift of support, and we're ready to wrap up this campaign. Thank you so much for being generous, and I hope you all stay well, be safe.
Thank you, Charles. And now some news. I want to let you know that Tara Grays and her husband Nick had a baby girl, Hannah Louise Grays, born on April 24th. Congratulations to Tara and Nick. And now we have birthdays to celebrate. This week's birthday members are past President Rob Stroud, John Everett, Larry Konopacki, Ben Blagoji, Bradley Campbell, Fred Clark, Ellen Carlson, Deborah Cronmiller, Alan Ebert, and Walt Stewart. We wish all of these members a very happy birthday and thank those who made a contribution to our Madison Rotary Foundation. Let's sing Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks so much to Nick Curran and his children, Annika, Brecken, and Colvin, for their family effort in leading this week's birthday song. And now, on to our program for today. As I mentioned earlier, Jason Ilstrup has helped arrange this live presentation by Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway. I'll now call on Jason, who will introduce the mayor, and Jason will also be taking questions right after her presentation. So I'll turn it over to Jason.
Thank you, Andrea, very much. Good afternoon, Rotarians. We are now in our live session of our meeting. I hope you're all doing well and staying healthy. As Andrea mentioned earlier, I'm Jason Ilstrup, the president of Downtown Madison, Inc., and it is my distinct pleasure today to assist with the conversation with Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway. Mayor Rhodes-Conway, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Jason.
Good, good. Mayor Rhodes-Conway is the 58th mayor in Madison's history. She has extensive experience in local policy and practice, heading up the Mayor's Innovation Project for a decade and serving on the Madison City Council for 3 terms. She also is very good at changing her backgrounds. I really like the giraffe. That is very, very nice. One quick note on today's meeting, we are live. So if you have a question, and we really want your questions for the mayor, please send them in through the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. You see at your bottom bar, you'll see Q&A. Please enter your questions in there, and I will ask them at the end. The mayor's going to give a presentation, and then we'll have plenty of time at the end for your questions. So, Mayor, the podium is yours.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thanks everybody for tuning in today. I wish that we were all in a room together, maybe at Overture, but alas, we all have to be socially distant and physically distant in these days, so I'm staying as far away from you as possible. But in all seriousness, I'm delighted to be here, and I thank you for the invitation. I thank Jason for hosting today and for the kind introduction, and as always for our partnership with DMI. I want to give a shout out today to Michael May, who is one of your fellow Rotarians and our city attorney, and who will be retiring as of June 1st. He's served the city long and well, is dedicated, loves the law, and I'm sure you all know way more about Mike than I do, but we've been really pleased to have him at the city over the years, and I certainly wish him the best in retirement. I'm happy to say, you probably read this in the news, that we are bringing in Mike Haas as our new city attorney next week. So look forward to that. I want to just give an overview of what I imagine is on all of our minds, how we are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and what we imagine things look like going forward. And so I know that some of you will have heard this from me in other forums, and so I apologize, but just in case, I want to be comprehensive. So we have been working here at the city to prevent and address the community spread of COVID-19 since late January, which is starting to be quite a few weeks from by now. It's really been a massive effort, mostly led by public health, but also really involving every single department in the city. We've pivoted our city operations. We have about 1/3 of our workforce teleworking now. We've shifted employees. We have over 100 folks that are working part or full-time on our emergency operations center. We have moved people between departments depending on where we need more effort. For example, the election, we pulled a lot of people from a lot of different departments, not just the clerk's office, to help run that. And I've really appreciated the flexibility that we've seen in our workforce to really just step up and do whatever the task is that's needed right now. Many of you know, because you serve on them, that we have paused the meetings of most of our city committees because we had to take them all online, and it's been frankly quite challenging for our IT department to stand up that many virtual Zoom meetings. But we are working on bringing more back every day, and we're looking forward to what this means for better community engagement in the future. Whether we'll be able to do some sort of hybrid meetings so that folks that can't get down to the city county building or the municipal building for any given meeting can still access those meetings remotely, either during or after the fact. So IT is working really hard on that. And again, I've been super impressed with their capacity to allow us all to telework and to allow us to have virtual meetings. We are working very closely with Public Health, Madison-Dane County, and with the Office of the Governor around data and metrics as we track the progression of the pandemic. And and we're looking very carefully at what the data show us. I know I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again, but we are not looking at a date around when we reopen various things. We're looking at how to follow the data and do this in a way that is clearly safe for everyone. You also probably know that we are awaiting decision from the state Supreme Court on what they will do with the lawsuit against the Safer at Home orders. We are prepared here in Madison and Dane County to do what we need to do from a public health perspective to protect folks, and are planning on again, following the data the best that we can. Our overall goal, and perhaps this is obvious, but I like to say it over and over again, our goal is to keep people safe. Our goal is to reduce the number of infections and to prevent the overextension of our healthcare system. So far, we've been doing really well, and that is in large part due to you and to the entire community. And so I want to say thank you for that. Our healthcare partners have been amazing, and have really worked to both increase their capacity and make sure that they are still taking care of everybody in our community. And it's working. Our efforts have, I am convinced, saved lives. The physical distancing is working. The washing of the hands, the wearing face coverings is keeping our community safe. And so thank you for everything that you're doing, including figuring out how to have your own meetings virtually, which is quite impressive. So, the early work that we did, it brought some really critical decisions about city services. We suspended operations at libraries, at Monona Terrace. We focused on standing up critical operations to help the most vulnerable in our community, particularly those experiencing homelessness, looking at people experiencing food insecurity, and of course, people who are most vulnerable to the COVID-19 virus. So that was a lot of our focus initially. I'm just going to run through quickly some of the ways in which we've shifted our operations at the city on various fronts. And I'm not going to go into too many details. If people have questions, I'd be happy to answer them as I can. But just in the realm of transportation, we've relaxed our parking regulations to encourage people to stay home, but also to make it easier to do curbside pickup from businesses that are open. We've modified our transit schedule to make sure that it's responsive to the needs of essential workers, particularly healthcare workers. And we've gone to backdoor boarding and fare-free transit, for the moment. We've worked to expand shared streets throughout the community so that in places where we were seeing a lack of physical distancing on our shared paths for people who are walking or biking, that they have more room by being able to go into the street. So you may have seen that in your neighborhoods. We're continuing to look at that and what we need to do to keep everybody safe and make sure that everybody's got enough room to stay 6 feet apart from each other. And we are, this all has been really challenging for Metro in particular. There's some significant costs involved. And I just want to give another shout out. We've brought on a new general manager at Metro Transit. His name is Justin Sturenberg. He's just been around for about a week. This has been challenging for all of us, but I can't really imagine starting a new job in the middle of a pandemic, plus taking on a transit agency that's hemorrhaging cash and has to figure out how to keep all of our employees safe and all of our riders safe. So kudos to Justin for agreeing to continue to come to Madison even in a difficult time. But I am confident that we will be able to rebuild our transit system. And I'm also confident that we're going to come out of this with a better transportation system overall. We're taking advantage of the lower traffic right now to get some projects done and to improve safety around the city. On economic development, we are working closely with the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce, the Black Chamber, the Latino Chamber, with DMI, with Destination Madison, to make sure that particularly our small business community is getting the information that they need about the resources that are available to them, about the public health guidelines, in the event that they are able to be doing business in person, which now increasingly more businesses are. And we waived a number of fees and fines and permit charges, which collectively have saved the community about $1 million. And we're looking now at which of those measures we need to continue into the summer or throughout the rest of the year. We're really, really aware that particularly our small business community is hurting economically, and trying to do whatever we can to support, whether that's in terms of getting access to federal resources, making it easier from what the city does, or just offering our best advice around best practices for public health. Our parks are for the most part open, but with some adjustments. We still are not allowing contact group sports, and that's contact with a ball or a disc or whatever, or contact between people. We've closed playgrounds to avoid crowds, but the parks are open, and we encourage people to get outside, particularly as the weather gets nicer, as long as you keep those 6 feet between you and other folks. And the Parks Department has developed a Move It Madison Challenge, which is 30 free activities that you can do at home, in your backyard, or at a neighborhood park. I encourage people to check that out. So many of us are sitting in front of our computers on Zoom calls all day, and it's really, really important for us to get moving a little bit. I swear to God, I think my Fitbit thinks I'm dead. I definitely am not getting my steps in. So I really think, the more we can get outside and get active, the better for our collective physical health, but also for our mental health. Streets Department is still continuing operations. Your trash is getting picked up, your recycling is getting picked up, but they've modified their operations to protect workers. They have staggered start times. We have a 1 person per truck rule. Everybody's got the masks and sanitizing equipment that they need. We do have our drop-off sites open, but there's some restrictions on that. I understand that's been frustrating for people as they're trying to get their yards in order this spring, but we are just trying to keep everybody safe. And we're still planting trees, but it's a lot slower, again, because we don't want to have multiple people in a crew out there in touch with each other. I know you all voted in the election and watched all of that go by. That was a big challenge for the city. We did hold an election in the midst of a pandemic, and I'm incredibly grateful to the city clerk for making that happen, and to everybody else who stepped up to help, both within City Hall and beyond. We learned a ton, and we're already looking forward towards what that means for August and November. We'll see what we get from the federal and state government in terms of support and help, but I think that we can feel fairly confident here in Madison. We did not see any increase in cases locally from the election, which I'm very grateful for, and that is not true of other places in the state. So I think that I have a pretty high degree of confidence in what we did, and we'll make it even better for future elections. And we are going to, however, need folks to help. Certainly, if you are so inclined, request your absentee ballots now for future elections. Get your ID on file with the clerk's office so we don't want to run into any trouble around that. And if you're in a low-risk category, we are still going to need poll workers. So appreciate any help there. And we will be, as we get closer to the next 2 elections this year, needing partners in getting the word out. And so I certainly hope that Rotary can help us to get the word out around how to conduct more safe elections in the city here. Another place that I would really appreciate Rotary's help is in getting the word out about the census. So firstly, if there's anybody on this call that hasn't yet filled out the census, please, my2020census.gov. It's super easy, took me 10 minutes. You know, you can do it online, you can do it over the phone. You've probably had the paper form mailed to you by now. You can do it on paper if you want. But this is so important for our community. It does, of course, impact our federal representation, but it more importantly right now impacts the share of federal funding that we get for healthcare, nutrition, affordable housing, transportation, education, and more. We are working at the city, partnering with community-based organizations to get the word out. We worked with UW to reach students, but our response rates are still lower than what they need to be. And so we really do need everybody to fill out the census, and we need everybody's help in getting out the word to people who are less likely to have done that. Certainly our communities of color, immigrants, students, and seniors are all in lower response categories. So we encourage you to reach out to your friends, your family, your networks, and make sure that they've all filled out the census. And obviously we're not able to do any of our outreach in person here. We had great plans for fun events to do in person to get people to fill out the census, and none of that can happen. So we've tried to pivot and put that online, but it does mean that we need more help. We're somewhere around 10 points below our previous response rates, and we're below the Dane County response rate here in Madison, and Lincoln, Nebraska, and Louisville, Kentucky are beating us in their response rates. This is totally unacceptable, people. So we really need to get those numbers up. Louisville can't beat us. It's not okay. So anyway, help us out with the census, and certainly fill it out if you haven't yet for your household, but help us spread the word. I want to talk a little bit about testing. We've had some big news this week on our testing capacity. And so I think folks know this because it's been in the news a lot, but we are really looking for a set of things to be confident in our ability to start opening things back up. And a big one is testing. Another one is contact tracing. I feel really confident in our capacity around contact tracing right now at Public Health. Another piece is our capacity in healthcare. Again, our healthcare systems have been fantastic here, and I think they've got good capacity. So testing is a really key thing for us. We do have a community-wide testing center up and running. It's at the Alliant Energy Center in the New Holland Pavilion. If you drive in, they'll give you all the information you need. It's quick, relatively easy. And anybody can get tested. Certainly encourage anybody who has any flu-like or COVID-like symptoms to go get tested, or if you have any reason to believe that you might have been exposed, if you're an essential worker, certainly encourage you to get tested. You can also, of course, get tested at your healthcare home, right, through your primary care provider. There's and that actually will get you results quicker. So if you have a healthcare home, encourage you to contact them if you'd like to get tested. Many of our healthcare providers locally are also now offering the antibody test. And so it's worth saying, I think, the testing that's being offered at Alliant Energy is just going to tell you whether you have the virus now. The antibody test will tell you if you have the antibodies to the virus. So were you exposed to it? Did you have it? And this is an important test because if you have an asymptomatic response, if you had the virus but didn't get sick, you don't have any way of knowing unless you get this test. So I think it's worth, again, for a lot of people to contact their healthcare provider and see if that test is available to them. And it is for many people. And the more tests that we get done, the more information we have, the better we'll understand the progression of the disease in our community. And our capacity to stay on top of it. So we will see, I hope, testing numbers going up. We will see positives going up also, but that's in some ways it's a good thing because it means that we are catching more of the spread right now. And what we're really watching is that positivity rate, how many positives per the amount of tests that we have. And the more people we get tested, the better we know. So encourage people to take advantage of that. There is translation services available in Spanish and Hmong at the testing site, and technology that can access for other languages if anybody needs it. We had about almost 350 people tested the first day, and almost 750 people tested on the second day. So that's really encouraging. And you know, we'll continue to watch those data and use that to inform you know, how we open up both city operations, but then ease back on the restrictions once the state allows us to do that. A couple of other things that I want to touch on in terms of our response and what we've been trying to do for the community. First is food access. Emergency food demand has just skyrocketed during this. We have households who have never needed to access food pantries before who are trying to do so for the first time. United Way has seen a 300% increase in their calls for food assistance. And so this is a big challenge for our community. The emergency food system is strong here in Madison, but they do need the resources, they need the food, they need the financial resources to be able to respond to this increase. So again, if you're inclined, I appreciate any help that you can give there. And we are collaborating with community partners with the county. We have distributed about $50,000 in grants to community-based organizations to tackle food access issues and food security issues in our neighborhoods. We are looking to the medium and long term around food security as well, and our Food Policy Council has started meeting again with a specific charge from me to take on these issues. We're partnering with UW and Extension and looking at how we can increase our local capacity to get the food that is on farms into the hands of hungry people here in Madison and Dane County. Counties obviously put a big effort into this as well. And we're looking at how we can build out of this a stronger food system overall. That is regional in nature, that is getting food to the people that need it, that is helping to protect and recover our food-based businesses. And this is this is a big piece of work, but I think it's a really important piece of work. So our attention in terms of our work in the food system is really shifting towards relief and recovery. And I'm really grateful for the Food Policy Council's leadership role in that. We also have, you know, you all know, previous to the pandemic, we had an issue with homelessness here in Madison, and a number of people that are unhoused. That hasn't gone away during a pandemic, and we've been, one of the first things that we did at the city was to focus on how we could get our homeless friends and neighbors into safe situations. So we have moved the overnight men's shelter to the Warner Park Community Center to be able to ensure physical distancing. We have about 80 individuals a night that are staying there. We're providing them with transportation and meals and access to services. I'm really grateful for our partnerships with Porchlight and the Beacon. We could not do this work without them. We're screening for COVID-like symptoms, and we're providing face coverings. And we are looking forward again into like what's next. This won't happen at Warner Park forever. And so we're looking for what's next in terms of other facilities that we can use. We've also put a number of folks who are at higher risk into hotels, and this has been in close partnership with the county. Again, I'm really grateful for that partnership. We could not do it without them, and this has been working really well. So anybody who's got a higher risk for COVID infection and families have been put into, I think, 7 hotels around the community. And they also are receiving meals and services, and we're doing our best to connect people to the services that they need, and starting to shift our attention to how do we get these folks into long-term housing, so that they don't have to go back out on the street or back into shelter. And again, a lot of work, grateful for our partners. The Salvation Army has been important here, as well as Focus Counseling, who's providing services. So we're doing a lot. That's a lot of information to have sort of dropped on you at once. I want to just end with some of the things that are most recently on my mind, and that is the economic and financial challenges that we're facing. It is, this has hit everyone economically in a very, very deep and hard way, and there's a lot of pain around our community. The city is frankly no different. We have increased our operational costs fairly dramatically in our response, and I don't regret spending the money that we've spent, for example, on personal protective equipment or cleaning supplies, but we didn't budget for that. So we're going to have to adjust. We've also lost a significant amount of revenue, probably close to 35 million in 2020 alone. And this is, it's this sort of instantaneous loss across most of our local revenue sources. It's just unprecedented. And it comes at a time when there's greater need in our community, and we need to be responsive to that need. So we are trying to figure out the best way forward here. We are adjusting. We've got a hiring freeze. We're adjusting our non-essential spending. We're looking at other options to save money. We are lobbying both the state and federal governments for assistance. We have not at the city seen any direct state or county resources come to us. We have seen a very small amount of federal resources, mostly to our transit agency. We have about $1 million more in CDBG allocation, but we haven't received direct funding from the CARES Act. There is a proposal out now from members of the U.S. House to do another round of a significant stimulus package. The proposal is called the HEROES Act, and the proposal does include a significant amount of aid that would be directed directly to state and local governments. And this is because we are really on the front line of this pandemic and dealing with both the public health issues, but also the economic impact. And so we are very supportive of the HEROES Act, and Madison's would gain a significant amount of direct funding from it. And I'm hoping that I can count on all of your support to be supportive of this act as well. The National League of Cities has put together really good information on this. I encourage you to seek it out. I encourage you to contact your representatives directly if you're so inclined, and certainly any organizations that or businesses that you are part of, if you're able to support the notion of direct aid to local government, I would be very grateful. It is, we are not going to be able to get through this in a way that keeps our city whole without direct aid from the federal government. And I do not want to be in a position of having to lay off essential city workers, but we are required to deliver a balanced budget, and that is going to be very difficult to do without aid from the federal government. So that's hard and depressing, and we are wrestling with these really difficult questions with the city, as I know many of you are in your businesses and organizations. So I know you understand how difficult it is. But Madison is an amazing place. I have already been very impressed with our collective response to this pandemic, and I know that we will continue to work together to come out as strong as possible from this. We are home to more than 20,000 employers, obviously state government, UW, our flagship of our higher education system. We are an emerging hub for biotech and health systems. We've got Epic and American Family and Exact Sciences and Promega and Sub-Zero. We've got Google and University Research Park, many of whom, by the way, have pivoted their operations to directly respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to particularly call out Exact Sciences and Promega for their amazing work. And we are lucky to have them here in Madison and working directly on the testing. We're lucky to have UW working on identifying, what are the contours of this disease and working on vaccines. I mean, there's not every community that has these resources, and so I'm really grateful for that. We have such an amazing community. Our downtown, our Monona Terrace, the State Street businesses, all of our neighborhood business districts are such an important part of Madison, of our charm, of the strength of our economy, of the uniqueness of our community. We have such a thriving arts and culture scene, live music, our access to the outdoors, our lakes, our parks. We have so many assets here, and we are going to bring them all back. It's going to be difficult. It's going to take all of us, but we're going to do it. And we're going to get through this thing. We're going to get through it together. We have a strong past, a powerful sense of community, and I actually really do believe that we have a bright future. But it is going to take all of us working together to make sure that we come out of this even more accessible, even more equitable, even more affordable, and more sustainable than we were going in. And I am going to rely on all of you for help on that. But because we have such a diverse array of smart people and resources, human resources, let's say, here in Madison, I'm really confident that we're going to pull out of this thing. So I appreciate your time today and your support for our city. I hope that you can join me in finding hope in the midst of the crisis and putting that hope to work.
Mayor, thank you very much for a great presentation today, and thank you for ending on a positive note. I think to have those silver linings are very important. And for me personally, and as being a resident of the city of Madison, thank you for your leadership during this difficult time. Got lots of questions. We've got about 10 minutes with the questions so far. In light of what you said about the budget and what's happened under COVID-19, Amanda White would like to know, how has this changed our priorities, particularly the priorities that you ran on, transportation, affordable housing, sustainability? These priorities changed because of COVID-19?
It's an excellent question. I would say that at the top lines, the priorities haven't changed. Those things are all still important. But how we implement them, I think, will change. And in part because of the reduced resources available to us, we're going to have to look for ways to impact those priorities that don't require spending as much money. But I think it's important to keep the goals of affordability, equity, and sustainability in mind as we build our plan around reopening and recovery. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to think about folks that have been impacted the most and to make sure that our response is really inclusive. But those priorities are going to carry us through. It's just going to look a little different than it did last year at this time.
That brings up the next question from Tom Pope. It seems that the effects of COVID-19 have been different on different members of our community, particularly people of color. There's been disparate impacts on people of color and people earning less income. What can the city do to help minimize those unequal negative effects?
That's also a great question. We have been keeping this in mind right from the beginning of our response. One way that we're working very hard here is just making sure that we have equal language access. So we're producing resources in Spanish and Hmong and other languages, and getting those out in a culturally competent way. So just for example, translating something into Hmong in a written format is not the most effective way to reach that community, so we're doing videos. But we're also trying to target our relief and recovery resources directly to the communities that are most impacted. And so, again, city has very limited resources, but we are targeting some of our economic development resources in partnership with the Black and Latino chambers to make sure that businesses owned by people of color are getting access to the resources that they need to make it through this.
The next question comes from Steve Goldberg, and I think it's an important question about what we've learned, right? What have we learned from the steps that we've taken during the pandemic that can help us improve and really reshape and reimagine what our processes and services are after the healthcare crisis has passed?
So, Steve, that's probably a whole hour. We've learned a ton, I think. Just some highlights for me. The way in which the city has stepped up through the emergency operations structure and worked across silos and cutting through red tape has been really impressive. And I got a whole list of things that I want to take away and keep doing going forward so that we can continue to be innovative and creative and cut through our silos.
We have a question next from Nasra, who asks, have you been in contact with other US mayors, something that you've done in the past? And what have we learned sort of best practices from other cities during this pandemic?
That's, yeah, another great question. Yes, I am on at least one call a week with mayors, frankly, from all over the world. And have learned a ton. I'm watching very carefully what other cities are doing, particularly cities that have been a little farther ahead on the curve from us. And we're culling, really too many good ideas to mention now from what other cities are doing. But we've looked at, for example, some of the recovery funding usage. We've looked at how other cities are helping their homeless communities, how they're helping small businesses, a lot of stuff around communications. But yeah, I continue to be in very close touch with other mayors in this time.
Very important here, question from Brian Chan of SuperNet. What is the city of Madison doing to help bridge the digital divide as K through 12 schools move online in response to COVID-19?
Another excellent question. And I wish that I could say that we were doing more. We are very preempted by the state in this realm from actually being able to provide broadband services. But we have been working closely with the school district to do as much as we can to get hotspots out to the families that need them. The school district, I have to say, did an amazing job at getting devices to all the students that needed them. And we have a staff group that's working very hard on this. We've worked with the companies that are providing access to remove barriers and make sure that families can access the services that are being offered for free right now. But this is really, the pandemic has, I think, really exposed a gap in our community here. It's one that, frankly, I would love to be able to work on more if I had a little room from the state to do so.
A question about the actual operation during the pandemic from Willie Larkin. How is the city running during the crisis, and does it have a command and control center?
We have a virtual emergency operations center, which for a while was meeting every day. We've gone down to 3 times a week as we get a better handle on things. We actually never met in person because of the nature of the crisis. We've been on the phone or on the Zooms. But yes, we are still running under an emergency operations center, and we're actually in the next week or so going to pivot towards a recovery structure while still keeping our emergency operations center going, because a pandemic doesn't stop. It's not like a storm or something. So we're going to have to focus on both the crisis footing, but also the recovery at the same time.
Well, I know there's a rule in Rotary about only asking questions, but there's a very nice comment to you from Cheryl Cato. She says, "Awesome job, Mayor. Awesome presentation. Thank you for your leadership during this challenging time. She says, Bo, please do not forget to include strong and almighty nonprofit organizations addressing the needs of the most vulnerable in our community. Earlier you spoke targeting, making sure we're helping out the Asian American community. Thank you very much for that. So just wanted to make sure paying attention to those nonprofits. And actually that's something you and I spoke of right before the meeting, how important they are for the community.
Yeah, our nonprofit community has been amazing, honestly, and I was able to call out a few of them, but there are just dozens of nonprofits across our community helping folks who are in need, and that's amazing. I think there's a lot to be thankful for here in Madison, and I know that it's been very hard for nonprofits. They haven't been able to hold their fundraisers. And so again, if you are in the position to help out your favorite nonprofit in this difficult time, I really encourage you to do that.
Not to make a shameless plug, but also support your favorite local businesses, your restaurants.
Yes.
Your curbside service. Now you can go into retail. Please, they absolutely need this. This is important. We believe in
I've been so impressed with our small business community, Jason. Amy and I don't really have time to cook these days. So we've been ordering takeout a lot. And it's amazing what a good job businesses are doing in getting us food safely.
Yeah, absolutely. We got time for 2 more questions. Second to last question from Stu Levitan. What has the city done and can the city do to assist live music venues to open once they can open again?
It's a great question, Stu. This is going to be a really difficult one. We are looking at best practices, and public health is actually working very hard right now to outline guidance for all different types of businesses. But the thing that's most difficult is the types of businesses that require large crowds in close contact with each other. So I think, unfortunately, that's going to be one of the last things to come back. It's going to require all of us to get a lot more comfortable wearing face coverings. And it's, I think, going to require businesses to pivot to possibly outdoor venues or more virtual or online options.
Just want to make sure we don't forget anyone in the questions. There was a great question, Mayor, on how do we really seize this opportunity. We're seeing environmental change, right? As the earth is sort of coming back alive, making sure we seize that opportunity moving forward. And then also a question about enforcement of sort of wearing masks and where the city is with that. So we don't have time for those questions, but I wanted to make sure you knew that. The last.
Let me say really quickly, wear your face coverings. We can't require it because we're preempted by the state orders, but everybody should absolutely be wearing a face covering in public, no question. And I really encourage people to do that.
Yes, thank you for your advice. So, I'm a half glass full person, so we're going to end on a positive note. What is one positive story that's come out of this for you that you really remember and say, wow, we have a great community in Madison?
How to pick just one. There's just dozens of ways in which I think we're doing an amazing job. You see the drive-by graduation and birthday parties. You see the the way that in which we've really stepped up to help on food and help our homeless community. But we actually have a place where we're aggregating these stories, and it's a new effort called Look Forward Madison. And you can find it on social media. It's the library and the Bubbler have helped with this, as well as our arts program. So they're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, as well as the web, #, Look Forward Madison, and they are sharing cultural opportunities, arts opportunities, online learning, and positive stories that have come out of this. And there are so many. So I really encourage you to check out Look Forward Madison and share your own positive stories, because we really all, I think, could use the happy news in a difficult time. And there are a lot of really, from the small to the large, heartwarming stories out there in Madison, because we are such an incredible community and really working to take care of each other.
Mayor, thank you very much for your time today. A wonderful presentation. Thank you for answering all of our questions, and thank you as well for your continued leadership of Madison in this difficult time. Thank you also to all of our Rotarians for joining us. This is our first ever live virtual meeting. So the mayor, you're part of history here, long history for Rotary in our first ever virtual meeting. So thank you to all of you for joining us today, and we are now adjourned.